Okay, B'siyata D'Shmaya, we are continuing with the last class in the inner meaning of Gog Magog, the war of Gog Magog. And we're going to be learning about how David HaMelech is the one that is going to be able to subdue this war, right? King David and his seed. Gog Magog, we said, is Gematria 70, right? The 70 nations. We talked about in the beginning is that this war specifically is connected to Hoshana Rabbah, the last day of Sukkot. The Gog Magog is a war against Hashem and his Mashiach and the Jewish people. And what he's trying to do essentially in this war is to bring into the creation a spirit of heresy and rebellion against the kingship of Hashem. And us, on the other hand, on Sukkot, the Jewish people, we're busy with elevating the whole entire creation towards Hashem and connecting all of the living things of this world and even the inanimate objects back to their Creator. And this is a continuation of the work of Rosh Hashanah, where we crowned Hashem on all of the people of the world and the whole entire world itself. And the Kad HaKemach, the Tzaddik Kad HaKemach says, Al ken hayu makrivim 70 parim laHashem yitbarach keneged 70 sarim halalu. We offered 70 bulls, 70 cows in correspondence to these 70 ministering angels over the 70 nations. ועל זה כל כוח מהם מכיר הכוח שהוא העליון ממנו מתקרב אליו. And that, by way of this, every power recognizes the power and comes closer to the power that's above it. וכולם מודים ומייחדים ומכירים שאין כוחם אלא מכוחו יתברך. Everybody recognizes and becomes aware that their power is from that one above them, from above them, back to Hashem. It all comes back to Hashem. And this is the Yichud HaShalem, the complete Yichud, that everybody modim be'echad, everybody admits to the oneness of Hashem, the misha bekablim koach mimeno, that he who we receive power from, right? That's what we're doing on Sukkot. That's what we're trying to do, bring the whole entire world to recognition by way of themselves and the whole entire plant life and animal life and water and inanimate objects, all the way to the ministering angels, that every single being in this world should know that everybody receives power from Hashem. And what is Gog coming to do? Trying to remove everybody's mind from knowing that and feeling that and experiencing that. So after we do the 70 bulls, in a correspondence to the 70 nations, then that's the perfect time to get rid of all of the negativity that's left inside the nations. That's the part of heresy and rebellion against Hashem of Gog Magog. Right? That's what we said we're doing. The war of Gog Magog is the power of good against the power of evil. All the negativity and the fear and the klipa that's left inside the 70 nations after they have the ability to come and connect, and we try to elevate them. Whoever doesn't want to come along for the ride and they want to fight that still after that period, then it's the time to go to war with that. And that's all the negativity that's left there. And now we're going to try to tie this back to David Melech Israel, King David, the king of Israel, that lived for how long? How many years? 70 years, 70 nations, Gog Magog, Gematria 70 bulls. Hoshana Rabbah is the 7th day of Sukkot, which is the 7th Ushpiza, which is the 7th shepherd, which is David HaMelech. It's all connected back together. He is the lochem, he is the warrior that's fighting against Gog Magog, that is also Gematria 70. And now we'll understand this idea sevenfold, 70 times over, right? The completion of this world, of this war, this great war, is on Hoshana Rabbah, which is the 7th day of Chag HaSukkot, which is in correspondence to the midah of Malchut, which is kingship, which is David HaMelech. Therefore, on that day, the light of David HaMelech, the king of Israel, is revealed. That his kingship, what was the kingship of David? What is the throne of David, the king of David? He was a physical representation of the kingship of Hashem. וישב שלמה על כיסא השם למלך תחת דוד אביו ויצלח וישמעו אליו כל ישראל. Shlomo Melech sat on the throne of Hashem to be king underneath David and after David his father, and he was successful, and all of Israel listened to him. What does it mean he sat on the throne of Hashem? Why not on the throne of David? Right on the throne of the kingship of Israel. Shlomo sat on the throne of Hashem. Shlomo's throne is a trippy throne, right? But it was called the throne of Hashem. Why? Because he's representing the kingship of Hashem. The fact that he's a king is not because he's actually deserving of being a king. It's because Hashem is the king, and Hashem wants there to be a revelation of his kingship in the world, so he makes kings. And the king of Israel is the finest, most highest revelation of that reality of the world, the kingship of Hashem. So it's Kiseh Hashem. It's the throne of Hashem. It's not his father's throne. This was the greatness of David HaMelech when he would go to war against the nations of the world, until it was completed in the most finest way with his son Shlomo HaMelech, which started to make, right, Melech Shalom Shalo. He's the king that peace was his, that he completed this idea. שאצלו התגלה בפועל כיצד כל ה-70 אומות נכנעים תחת מלכות השם. Shlomo was able to bring all of the 70 nations underneath the kingship of Hashem. He subdued all of them, that they gave in to him, that the temple was the most important place in the world. The kingship of David and Shlomo was the most important king in the world. The whole entire world wanted to come to Jerusalem to serve Hashem. Shlomo HaMelech was able to do that. Sheken hu melech b'kippah. Right? He was the king over the kippah, over the dome, over the mount. Shlomo HaMelech was able to show us how the whole entire creation, the whole entire world can be subdued and nullify itself underneath Hashem, give into Hashem. And all of that, right, this is really essentially what the UN was set out to be. The UN, what they say they're trying to do, where their psukim of Mashiach outside of their office in New York, was to bring all of the nations of the world underneath one government, one body. And if Iran and Iraq want to have a war, they'll come to the judge will make a decision, and they'll live it out in a diplomatic, safe way, right, without having to kill anybody, going to war. That's what it was meant to be. But obviously it's a bastardized klipa that is not going to fulfill its proper mission, and it's filled with lies. But Mashiach will come and bring the whole world to that consciousness, and that's essentially what it's doing. It's bringing the world closer to this awareness of there being an international criminal court and a body of one government that makes peace between all nations. Everybody giving into this one being, this one body that represents the kingship of Hashem. And obviously the reign of Shlomo was a completion of the reign of David, right? David prepared everything for the Beit HaMikdash and brought all the tefillot, but Shlomo had to build it and inaugurate it. David bought Yerushalayim, Shlomo made it into what it actually became, right? And it was part of the Yevusim. That's like Marat HaMachpelah was bought by Abraham, Shechem was bought by Yaakov, so Yerushalayim was bought by David from the Yevusim. And that's like right? There's few places in Israel that we have actual written in the Tanakh that we bought the land. It's 100% ours, whether you want to say God gave it to us or not. Our forefathers bought the actual land. It was ours. So Shlomo was completing David's throne. Therefore, right, David HaMelech, the submission of Gog Magog will be specifically by way of the Davidic lineage. Like it says in the Imrei Noam, ידוע מספרים אשר מלחמת גוג ומגוג תהיה באותו יום של הושענא רבה, ואז יתגבר מלך משיח שהוא דוד בעצמו וילחום מלחמתנו וינצח את כל אויבינו. The Imrei Noam says on Hoshana Rabbah, in his teachings on Hoshana Rabbah, it's known from the holy books that the war of Gog and Magog will be on that same day of Hoshana Rabbah, and then Melech HaMashiach, the King Mashiach, the King Messiah, will overcome that war and be victorious, and he is David himself, and he will fight our wars, and will be victorious over our enemies.
So usually one person becomes Emma?
No, Mashiach is like all of us. He's fighting the war for the side of good, but he's the representative. He's the Merkabah for the kingship of Hashem, right? That essentially David HaMelech is the soul of Mashiach. Mashiach ben David. We still call him that to this day. Whoever that Mashiach is when he shows up, he will be a reincarnation of David and Moshe Rabbeinu, Adam Rishon, right? Adam. What is Adam? Adam, Moshe, David. Right? It's the same. It's the completion of the Tikkun. Adam lived 930 years. David HaMelech lived 70 years. It's the completion and the completion of this whole entire elevating the creation back up to its creator, which was the job of Adam, and by way of the Torah of Moshe, the blueprint of the creation of the whole entire world. That whole completion will happen then. והבנת הדברים שדוד המלך מכניע את קליפת גוג ומגוג על ידי שהוא בטל ומבוטל להשם יתברך ומקבל על עצמו את עול מלכותו יתברך. How does David have the power to fight against Gog Magog? How does he win this war of heresy and rebellion against Hashem? By way of he himself nullifying himself into the light of Hashem. The more that David HaMelech nullifies himself into the light of Hashem, the more he'll be successful in taking upon himself the Torah. He'll be successful in this war against those who are trying to remove the yoke and remove the Torah and remove divinity from the world. David, although he's the king of Israel, and he is a ruler in this world with a strong hand, but his whole entire reality is expressing humility and lowliness and submission to the will of Hashem. And by way of that, physically, mamash, that he lives that, he subdues the klipa of Gog Magog, which at its essence is rebellion and heresy against the kingship of Hashem. And from this we understand what the Chazal were saying as well, that David HaMelech set up in Tehillim that Gog Magog will come together with the rebellion of Avshalom, right? The second chapter of Tehillim, the second Psalm, and the third Psalm, the second Tehillim and the third Tehillim. Second Tehillim talks about Gog Magog. The third Tehillim talks about David HaMelech's son, Avshalom, trying to chase after him and kill him to become king. Essentially a rebellion against hierarchy and against Ol Malchut, taking the kingship of Hashem, taking the kingship of David, not willing to accept that, wanting to become something myself, wanting to rule in my own initiative, my own power, my own dominion. That is the same thing as Gog Magog. That is the exact same thing. A person can experience that with his son, with his child, with himself and God. And it also, we're going to experience that with the nations of the world and the nation of Israel and God and Mashiach. From there we understand how in the end of the days there's going to be this intensified chutzpah, this audacity, this nerve, this disrespect that's going to increase in the world, and that's connected to the coming of Mashiach. David HaMelech is the one that's going to fight Gog Magog, and that's why David HaMelech, in his own book of Tehillim, his Psalms, his collection of Hitbodedut and talking to Hashem, he organized it that the story of Gog Magog and his success in that will come connected to the story of Avshalom. The fact that Avshalom rebelled against David HaMelech, rebelled against the king, his father, represented the throne of Hashem and the kingship of Hashem. David HaMelech went through that himself, and he experienced that himself, and he nullified himself to Hashem. He didn't kill his son. He didn't go after his son. He could have done that in a second, just have his son killed. He didn't do that. He had enough mercy, and he gave in to the will of Hashem, and just prayed and poured out his heart to Hashem. And by way of him nullifying himself to Hashem, he was protected from his own son. By way of that power, he's going to be able to fight Gog. How? By knowing how to give in to Hashem. To fight the war by giving in to Hashem internally. The more I nullify myself to the will of Hashem, the more Hashem will fight the wars for me. Hashem will fight for you. You be quiet. Not even prayer sometimes. Just be quiet. Silence. Give in. We want to add another level to this. בהקדם דברי חז"ל. 5 עמידות העמיד הקדוש ברוך הוא לדוד בספר תהילים. Hashem, it says in Midrash Tehillim that Hashem made 5 amidot, 5 pillars, 5 establishments that Hashem made for David in the book of Tehillim. 4 or in correspondence to the 4 kingdoms. David HaMelech was able to see the 4 kingships that would rule over Israel, right? Babel, Paras, Yavan, and Edom. And Hashem, right? And he stands up and prays to Hashem in each one of them. וחמישית שראה מלכות של גוג ומגוג באה לישראל בחזקה ואומר לקדוש ברוך הוא קומה השם אל נשא ידיך, אל נשא ידיך. Right? There's another time it says get up, and that's when it says Gog Magog coming against Israel with strength, and David says to Kadosh Baruch Hu, Kuma Hashem, get up Hashem, rise Hashem, El Naseh Yadecha, lift up your hand, raise up your hand, and understand that when David HaMelech sees the kingship of Gog Magog, he turns to Hashem in tefillah, in prayer, and he cries out to Hashem. And that is part of the submission of Gog Magog, is turning to Hashem in prayer. שכן עצם המושג תפילה מבטא הכנעה להשם יתברך. What is prayer? What is tefillah? It's an automatic expression of giving into the will of Hashem. You know you can't do something, you turn to Hashem, you just expressed right now that Hashem is the ruler of the whole entire world. That automatically removes from your mind and from your being, and it reduces the power of the forces in the world that are screaming, Hashem's not there for you, Hashem is not going to help you. This is the complete opposite of the essence of Gog Magog. So how does David HaMelech subdue Gog? How is he the one that's going to conquer him? Because he said about himself, Vani tefillah, I am prayer. My whole entire essence is connection to Hashem. My whole entire essence is being attached to Hashem. How could you ever come in the world and bring messages that Hashem's not here, that we don't have who to turn to, that Hashem doesn't rule over the world? At my core, I negate that. At my core, I am Vani tefillah. I am prayer. So I am the one that's going to fight against this clip of Gog Magog. The Likutei Moharan, Reb Nachman says in the second teaching, in the beginning of the second teaching, Yikar klei zeno shel Mashiach hu atfilah. The main weapon of Mashiach in his battles is tefillah, is prayers. Shu b'chinat chotem. This is the aspect of the nose. V'tihilati achtom lach. Right? And my prayers, echtom lach, my main essence, my main vitality, what seals me up, what makes me a person, what I breathe, what makes me up, is my tefillah, is my prayer, my connection to Hashem. And all of the wars that Mashiach will do, and all of the conquering that he will conquer, everything comes from there. He will smell it out, he will feel it. Right? The nose is the root, the source of all emotions, all of our feelings. So when you feel a certain way and you turn it and you feel Yirat Hashem, you smell Hashem, you feel Hashem, you have consciousness of Hashem, that's the nose. That's the main aspect of the war of Hashem, of the main vessel, the main tool, the main weapon of Mashiach. B'charbi u'b'kashti, with my sword, with my bow. What does Rashi say that is? Tfilah u'bakasha, with prayer, with request, with beseeching Hashem. Gog, David, Hava. Okay. Nosif al dvarim parpat na'a. Let's add another gem here, another beautiful thing we can see here. That applies also to the ways of avodah. The main job that we have in this world is revealing the kingship of Hashem in a way of hoveh, in a way of present. Hashem is here right now, present in my life. When a person turns to look what happened to him, he can very, very quickly find a lot of different stories of Hashgacha Pratit. You can see how Hashem was there the whole time, and you'll be able to understand, according to your understanding, according to your knowledge, why that certain thing happened. You'll be able to look back and you can connect the dots, right? So too, when a person is in a place of constraint in a hard time, you'll be able to strengthen himself with the hope of the future. I'll be able to find there Hashem. But the main aspect of avodah in the mikdash, in the temple, in the holy places, the main thing is to live out Hashem in the hoveh, in the present. A person can look back and find all the beautiful ways that Hashem was in his life and connect all the dots. And you can look forward with the hope that you'll be able to find Hashem in the future. But what you have to do is right now live Hashem in the present. That's the main job. After Amalek came to fight and put a blemish in the name of Hashem, ki yad al kesiyah, put a hand on the throne of Hashem, right? It's just left Yud K without the Vav and the Hey, without the revelation, without the heart, without the Ol Malchut Shamayim. Just in my mind I know Hashem is over there, but I don't feel it, I don't live it. That's what Amalek does. Hashem yitbarach nishba she'en Hashem shalem ve'en hakiseh shalem ad shimche zar'o shel Amalek. My name won't be complete, meaning my expression in this world won't be complete, and my throne, my dominion, my ruler over this world won't be complete until the name and the seed of Amalek is wiped out. Because of the blemish that Amalek put inside the names Vav and Hey from the name Yud Ke Vav Ke, Shkena Avar v'Atid nirmazim b'otiyot Yud Ke. The past and the future are hinted in the letters Yud K, in the name of Yud K Vav K. In Hashem's name, the Yud, right, is what was, and the Hey is what will be. The past and the future is the Haya, and the Ihiyeh. Yud and K weren't blemished by way of Amalek, what was and what will be. The main blemish that he did was in the Vav and the Hey. And that's where you have Hoveh, present, Hashem, Ve'Hei, right? Hashem and what I'm experiencing here, the present moment right now. The main hardship that a Jew has is to find Hashem in the Hoveh, in the present. But on the other side, it's specifically there, in the present, that you have the main revelation of the kingship of Hashem. Because that in the present is where it's concealed in the most hardest way. Right? There's the biggest concealment in the present. So when you reveal Hashem in the present, that's the biggest revelation that you could have. The main war, right, and the main way to crown Hashem over you is by way of the power of choice. And that's only in the present. Only right now I can decide what to do. Right now I can decide what to do. Right now I can decide what to do. The past is the past. What do I do now about the past? Okay, I can do tshuva, I can pray to be better, right? But that's now. Crowning Hashem over you, keeping halacha is about now, is about the present. How do I find Hashem in this moment? Yud K, Yud He is also a very, very holy name. Shulchan Aruch talks about this in Yoreh De'ah. But the essential name, the main name, is in all four letters. Yud K, Vav K. And this is made up of the additional Hoveh, right? You have Hoveh with a Yud. Hoveh is present, right? Haya, Hoveh, Hiye, was, is, and will be. The is right now, the present right now. Hey, Vav, Hey. When you add a Yud to that, when a Jew takes a little bit of the Hoveh and contemplates a little bit, the contemplation is hinted to in the Yud, which is corresponding to Chokhmah, right? To wisdom, to knowledge, to contemplate, to see the godliness in everything. When a Jew looks at his present situation with Yud, with contemplation and looking for Hashem inside of it, so then he finds Hashem inside the present. And then the Hoveh, the present, flips to Yud Ke Vav Ke, to Hashem's name. You start to reveal Hashem by way of being right now where you are. Not worrying about what's going to be and hoping to find Hashem in the future and praying for what's going to be. And not doing tshuva and trying to connect the dots retroactively. Be present. Try to be in the Hoveh. As a Yehudi with Yidbonenut, you connect the Yud and you connect your contemplation. To that, you'll have Yud Ke Vav Ke revealed to you. And this is an amazing thing to contemplate on. Gog, David, Hoveh. All of their letters are similar and close to each other. Gimel, Dalet, Vav, and Hey. 3, 4, 5, 6. Gimel Dalet Vav Hey. Those are the letters that make up Gog, David, and Hoveh. Right? That's it. 4 letters make up all of those words. They're very similar and they're very close to each other. It's like Rabbi Nachman says Likutei Moran in the 215th teaching, he says that Moshe is standing between Shmad and Ratzon. Shmad is annihilation, and Ratzon is desire. Right? Hashem has the desire for the Jewish people, or annihilation, and Moshe is in the middle. Why? Because Moshe is gematria between, right? It's 345. Shmad is 344, and Ratzon is 346. Moshe, what separates you from the divine will of Hashem or complete annihilation? Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu in the Torah and the advice that he's giving us, he's always standing there to flip the Shmad into Ratzon, right? To flip this aspect into a higher level. And according to what we understood and what's been explained, we'll understand this very well, that David HaMelech is the one that stands in between, right? And he crowns Hashem in the world, and by way of that, by way of nullifying himself and being a representative of Hashem, he takes the whole entire creation from a place of concealment and hiding and cover up into the kingship of Hashem. Gog, the matzav shel gilui kavod malchuto dafka betoch hahoveh. The situation of this world, the concealment of this world is Gog, right? That is, the world shows us Hashem's not here. You can do whatever you want. Everybody's an individual. They have their own might, their own power. Nature exists. The way of the world. That's what we see. That's Gog. David stands between that and the Hoveh. The Hoveh, the present, you can take the Hoveh, the present moment, and flip it from Gog to David. What is David? Representation of Hashem's kingship. What is Gog? The opposite of that. How do you do that? Be present and look for God. Contemplate a little bit. Get into David mindset. Let's finish it. Gog Magog and the sin of Adam Rishon, the first person. Lumat tikun olam al yedei Adam David Mashiach. Correspondence to the rectification of this, the first sin, by way of the idea of Adam, David, Mashiach. Adam is Rosh Hashanah, we mentioned it before, right? I said Moshe then, but it's Mashiach, right? Adam, David, Mashiach. We explained already that the inner aspect of this war of Gog and Magog is a rebellion against the kingship of Hashem and removing the yoke, removing the obligation of the Torah and the divinity of all of the commandments that we have. And that in the times of Mashiach, this is what we were taught, that chutzpah yizgeh, audacity and rudeness and disrespect will increase in the world. And in the last generations, there was also an expansion of democracy throughout the whole entire world, which is really the inner aspect of the war of Gog and Magog. It is democracy. That is the main tool. And we've explained how that has even caught into the Jewish world, inside the people of Bnei Israel, in a very fine way. And we explained how this deals with the Chag of Sukkot in general, and the day of Hoshana Rabbah individually, the completion of the offering of the 70 bulls, which are in correspondence to the 70 nations, and the day of David HaMelech, which is the Merkavah, the vehicle of expression for the Midah of Malchut. And his whole entire essence and his whole entire reality is an expression of Bitul and submission to Hashem's will. And we explained why we have so many prayers on Sukkot and Hoshana Rabbah. That is part of being busy with giving into Hashem, and a lot of prayers shows that I admit that Hashem rules over me. And from this we understood the connection between this war and Dor HaPelaga, the generation of the Tower of Babel, that they wanted to rebel against Hashem, and this war with the war of Amalek, They wanted to rebel against Hashem. And the completion of the erasing of Amalek will happen in the future. And we have to complete this and take it back to the first thing that ever happened, the primordial sin on the creation, the day of creation of man, of Adam Rishon. And by way of this, we'll be able to wrap all of these classes that we've given on Gog Magog together to connect the end with the beginning. With a complete rectification that will come after the war of Gog Magog. And we're not going to go in such length now, just one more page and a half. What happened in that sin? And let's see how Gog Magog is a continuation, a real continuation of that same sin. And then we'll understand why Mashiach ben David, who's going to fight Gog Magog, is the one that will rectify this primordial sin, the first sin that was ever done, and will take the creation back to its situation of before sin, right? When he was just created before he made this. There's what the world was set out to be before sin, and then there's the reality after sin. And the complete tikkun will take us back to a world of before sin, right? Some of the things that happened there, trees were meant to have the taste of the fruit, right? The tree and the fruit would be together. You had loaves of bread growing already out of the ground. You had a crazy reality of understanding of animals, of connection of all plants, knowledge of what heals, what does, no sicknesses even, right? Just enhancement. Season, one beautiful season. You don't have to have all these ups and downs. One beautiful season where you can experience everything at once. It's a beautiful, beautiful reality in the world, and we want to get back there. We want to come back to God consciousness, and mainly to know that this world is not separate from God. That is just an enhanced continuation of the expression of that. The purpose of creation was to make Hashem a dwelling place in the lower realms, meaning by way of a person who has the ability to make a decision. Should be placed in a place, in a situation where there is a concealment, there is a lack of clarity, of God clarity, aka this world, right? Take a neshama that has the ability to make decisions and put it inside a world where the clarity is not there. And from there you will reveal Hashem in the world and turn to Hashem from a place of bitul, from a place of achnan, giving in to Hashem. But this goal was blemished by way of the advice of the snake, the primordial snake, serpent, who came and seduced man and Chava, Adam and his wife Eve, that they shouldn't keep the words of what Hashem said to them. And his words were, B'yom ochlechem mimenu v'nifkechu enechem v'hitem ke'elohim. On the day that you will eat from this fruit, and your eyes will be opened, and you will be like a God. Meaning you will have your own reality, you will have your own ability, you will have your own domain. You will exist separate from any other power above you. We don't have to go deep into understanding what is the inner aspect of this sin. The inner point is what the snake said to Adam and Chava, שתחת לחיות בעולם הזה ככלי ומרכבה לגילוי כבודו יתברך הם יכולים להיות מציאות לעצמם. Instead of being in this world as a creation and just a vessel that reveals godliness in this world, you could be your own reality. You don't have to be here for Hashem. You could become something. You could be that being. That's what he was essentially saying to them. That's exactly what Gog Magog is saying. We don't need Hashem to rule over us. We don't need to reveal Hashem in the world. We're the strong ones. We'll do it. So let's live here by ourselves. We were created. Now we're here. I make decisions. I'm the one in charge. This heresy and this rebellion against Hashem from a place, right? It's not about, I don't believe in Hashem, I'm going to do Avodah Zarah and pray to this other thing. No, I'm not praying to anything. Remove all sense of hierarchy of anything above me. It's exactly what it is. You'll be like a God. You'll be like your own power. מלחמה זו, כלום. יש עבד שמורד ברבו. You say, oh, there's a slave that could go against its master? That's what Gog Magog is. Chazal say about Gog Magog in Masechet Brachot on the 13th page. Mashal amala davar domeh. What is the story to bring this, to understand this more? La'adam shaya malech b'derech. A person was walking on a path. Ufaga bo zev. And he came across a wolf. And he was saved from it. And he would go around and tell the story of the wolf. He came across the lion, and he was saved from the lion. And he would go around telling the story of the lion. He came across the snake, and he was saved from the snake. He forgot the story of both of them, and he went around telling the story of the snake. Right? You get it so far? It's just a simple understanding, right? He was walking on the street, got attacked by a wolf, was saved, told everybody about it. Now a lion is crazier than a wolf, told everybody about that. Now a snake, forgot the story of the lion and of the wolf, and only told people about the story of the snake. Gog Magog is hinted to as the snake. And now we'll understand that it has a connection back to the primordial snake, the root of heresy in Hashem. That was from the beginning of creation. So too, Gog Magog, this klipa at the end of times, is the same klipa of the snake and all of its defilement and its blemish and its pollution. And at that moment it will be nullified, and the kingship of Hashem will be revealed in the whole entire world. ועתה יובן עוד עומק במה שנדבר לעיל. שהחטא הקדמוני ומלחמת גוג ומגוג הם עניין אחד. The primordial sin of Adam and Chava and the world of Gog Magog is one idea. And the beginning of the creation is connected to the end of it. And that's what it says. The rectification of the first sin that was ever done will be completed by way of Mashiach ben David. Like it's hinted to in the Rashi Tevot, the acronym of the word Adam. Adam, David, Mashiach. It's from the Alshech. Another Tzvat Chidush, Baruch Hashem. This is the idea, this is the actual essence of the idea of Mashiach. That it will come back and connect the whole entire creation back to its creator by way of overcoming the war of Gog Magog. And this is the fixing and the rectification of the primordial sin that separated the creation from Hashem and made them feel as if they were their own entity and they were their own beings and they were separate from Hashem. And that's why also Mashiach is Gematria Nachash 358. It's the same idea that the Mashiach comes to rectify what the Nachash did. The snake made us feel like we were separate from Hashem and put into our mind the knowledge of good and evil. And evil became part of us, not just something that we could have known of externally. It became part of us, that we have this confusion, we have this feeling as if we're separate from Hashem. Mashiach will be the one that nullifies what the Nachash, what the snake did. And this is what's said in the Zohar Kadosh. Adam Rishon natan 70 shanim mishnotav leDavid HaMelech. That Adam Rishon, Adam gave 70 years of his life to David, to King David. David Melech Yisrael chai vekayam. Right? By way of this, David Melech Yisrael chai vekayam. He will be able to, chai vekayam means he will be alive and established. He will remove the death that Adam and Eve brought into the world. Adam and Eve, when they sinned by way of the advice of the snake, they brought death into the world. Right? He was meant to live forever, and he lost from his life. He died after 930 years. What happened to the other 70 that could have been for 1,000 years? That was given to David, and he would be chai vekayam. He will bring back life and establishment and existence back into the world, and he will fix this sin. Death, when you're even alive, death means separation from Hashem, right? Reshaim b'chayim nikraim mitim. Wicked people in their life are called dead. What's a wicked person? A person that doesn't follow Torah and mitzvot, that doesn't follow the will of Hashem. Right? A rasha in the Torah is not a wicked, evil person that's bad. That's not the meaning of a rasha. Rasha means a person that's going against the Torah. You could be kippah tzitzit, completely holy. At the moment you do a sin, you're called a rasha. The moment you do tshuva, you're called a tzaddik again. Right? A rasha, in a general sense, is a person that all his life is going against Torah. He's called dead while he's alive. Why? Because death means separation from Hashem. But David, his whole entire essence was to be connected to Hashem and to connect the whole entire world back to Hashem. And that is the rectification of that same sin. And the completion of the sin by way of the work of David HaMelech. We'll explain now how this all connects to Sukkot and Hoshana Rabbah. On these days, we're dealing with these days, right? This is a Sukkot Torah. So on the days of Sukkot, we're dealing with rectifying that same sin. The beginning of Chodesh Elul starts the Elul, that we start to do tshuva already, the days of Slichot and Rachamim, we start to do tshuva on all the sins that we did, by way of doing tshuva on times and places that we didn't reveal Hashem's kingship in the world, that our hands were involved in covering it up and not revealing it. And Rosh Hashanah, we crown Hashem over us and in the whole entire world. On the day that that sin happened, Rosh Hashanah is the 6th day of creation. That's what it is. It's the day on the day of that sin happened, we crown Hashem over the whole entire world.
Are we also in the 6th day right now? Every 1,000 years.
And the continuation of this tikkun will be done on the holiday of Sukkot. That we connect everything in the power of Sukkot is to connect nature and connect the creation back to Hashem. Starting with the water libation, pouring water, right? The pulling of the water and pouring it on the altar. That's the inanimate objects. Then going to the 4 minim, the 4 species that we shake, the lulav and the etrog and the adasim and the aravot, which is the plant life. And by way of the chai, the animals, which is the 70 bulls. And by way of the speakers, the humans, which is the 70 nations. So, if that's the case of Sukkot, that is the completion of all of the days of Rachamim and Selichot, of what started in Elul. We're completing the revelation of Hashem and the kingship of Hashem for this world, for this year specifically, and on that day. And we also deal on that day, Hoshana Rabbah, with Gog Magog. That is the completion of the rectification of the primordial sin by way of David HaMelech. That his years were a completion for the years of Adam, who was meant to live 1,000 years but only lived 930, and the other 70 were given to him, and his seed will be the completion of that. Adam, David, Mashiach is Rashi Tevot Adam. And the root of all of our lust that we have, all of our 7 midot that fall down, all of that is rooted in this primordial sin. Hashem should help us and give us the power to go through this war and to take advantage of the next Sukkot that's coming up, to really do this work at the time when it's needed. In the proper time you get extra help, but we need to do this all the time. To take upon ourselves Ol Malchut Shamayim, the kingship of Hashem, in a complete way. By way of that we'll connect the whole entire world back to its creator, back to Hashem, and we'll be able to fight the war with David HaMelech, and we'll be successful in the war and victory over Gog Magog. Every one of us in our own individual war, and that will all join together in the general world, the general war of the world, and bring the whole entire world out of its negativity and evil back to its creator. And once that separation has happened, we can go strictly for the negativity and wipe it out of this world to complete the name of Hashem, so that the expression will be complete. Right? Hashem's name and expression in this world will be one, unified with what we know to be true up above that. We'll live it down here. It'll all be one. This is the idea of the inner meaning of Gog Magog. I hope it helps everybody to have new light in this war, to understand it in a deeper sense. B'ezrat Hashem, we have to move ourselves away from anything that makes ourselves feel ego and heresy and rebellion against Hashem, and to live in a way of clarity, to know that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is behind every single thing that happens in this world. B'ezrat Hashem Yitbarach.